Good morning, guys. Hey, Harry. Hey, Mustafa. How are you guys doing today? Everyone enjoy their weekend? So yeah, just looking at the overnight session right now before we open in like 3 minutes. We made a nice run up. We made a nice push from like 5:30. Obviously, we weren't awake then, but if we were, we would have got a nice alert and we could have caught a nice move. I'll show you guys right here. So around like what, 5:25, we got an alert from the Algo saying for a nice buy setup. And if we followed it through, we would have got a nice 11.25 points in profit. So which would be, that's a good profit. So right now, what I'm estimating is just waiting for a pullback essentially. Maybe pull back around to 32.72 hopefully. And then make a nice pullback to the upside again to continue the momentum. Because in the 5-minute chart, it's been above the 200 EMA. Touched it once, went back. Hopefully we can get a nice little pullback at the open, maybe a nice little sell-off, and then continue to go up. Yeah, Harry, exactly. Like the 72, 74 area seems like the best one because that's where the least volume was today. So we can easily try to push towards there, as well as a VWAP right there. We'll see that come rising a little bit as time progresses. So 72, 74 is the same area that I'm looking into. So we'll have to see what happens at open in like a minute. I also figured out the lag. So now you guys can see right at the time, right? Maybe there should, because like last week I realized there's like a 20-second lag every time. So your questions or you just watching my screen, it'd be delayed. But this time, it's pretty much live, only a 2 to 3 second delay. And that's like the fastest I can get it. There's no such thing as like instant, because obviously technology doesn't work like that. But this is the closest I could get, so I'm happy. So yeah, today I'm hoping there'll be a nice little pullback, and then we can get into that. But if it keeps continuing to push up this morning, I'm probably going to stay out of it because I feel like that's just overextended at that point. But yeah, now it's just about markets open now. We want that sell-off right now, but you can see buyers are piling up right there at 32, 82.50. Sellers broke through it. Perfect. We're making that push down. That's exactly what we wanted. Everybody's just taking their profits from the overnight session, which is good. That gives us an opportunity to step in for the next push up. Let's just hope that this downward trend, the sell-off, just continues for a bit more. We really want it to come down to the VWAP, so 32.70, 32.72. That 4-point range. And then I'm looking at the 1 minute charts on my other screen right now. It just bounced off the 200 EMA in the 1 minute, so we'll see if that's sustainable or if it's actually just going to break through. Now it's starting to push up again. Okay, that's interesting. But again, we never buy the tops because that's pretty much stupid, right? It's like, why would you want to play an extended move, a nice big push, and then you want to buy at the top of that? Like, you're most likely you would lose at that point. So we want that pullback, and then we can ride it up to the top again. But other than that, I'm going to be waiting. NQ is about to hit the top right over here. Maybe we could see a nice reversal at that point if it hits. But again, from my lesson from last week, I'm not touching the NQ in the first 15 minutes of the market open. ES, I'll touch in the first 15 minutes. I have no problem with that. But NQ, its movements are too sporadic, so I'm gonna hold off, even if it touches. But right now, ES is slowly still. Sellers are looking like they're still in control at this point. So we still have 2 minutes left in the first 5 minutes, which is okay. And then, as far as some news goes, let's just look at some news. And the government's still in the talks about the stimulus checks as well as the unemployment. The unemployment is probably going to be, instead of the 600, they're probably going to do 200. Again, that would slow down the economy because people are dependent on that 600. And a lot of people are just paying that off for rent and property. Because, like, again, we have that cycle of paying rent, and then that goes to the landlord. The landlord pays the mortgage. The landlord pays the taxes, and the taxes control your counties and how your governments run. So without that, it's like everything falls apart. So I'm not. I have no doubt that they will pass another check again because they simply need to. People are struggling too much. And hopefully property prices start dropping, because right now where I live it's kind of expensive, but hopefully that's something that can come up good. Yeah, Harry, the Nasdaq is very strong at the moment, so we will just have to wait and see, because the volume is still good for the sellers at this point, but it's just because right now what we could do, right, is like with the Nasdaq, it might just like pump up just for a little bit, but then like get all the sellers in that right afterwards. It's like, if you remember Friday, it tanked completely, but then after halfway through the day, it made a full reversal to the upside and was positive for the day. And if I was at my desk, I would have definitely caught on to that, but I wasn't, so it's like, it is what it is. But yeah, right now, just wait out the first 15 minutes, see what's happening, and if the next two candles remain inside the first 5 minute candle right here, then we can look for a breakout move on either side. And for the breakout, we could just do a quick scalp play, nothing too crazy. I mean, for the ES, it could definitely be a breakout play, looking at this candle, like to the downside, potentially. might go for the little breakout right there at 32.7850. Actually, let's push it down one. Go for a quick 1.5 right there.
Stop filled.
Fighting against me at the moment, but hopefully we can finally start getting down again. Because I feel like that pullback has to come because of the overnight session, since how high it moved up, and there hasn't been a pullback yet. And pullbacks are necessary for bigger moves. Seems to be really struggling right now. I was expecting a quick push, but let's see. Quick push. Come on, just one more tick.
Order filled.
There you go, that 1 point, and then probably it's going to continue. We'll look for the pullback area again and try to get in on that side. Like I said, this is just going to be for a quick scalp. Now we're looking like we can get back down to that 172, 174 area. Because there's pretty much no volume down there, so if it goes through that price, it will probably drop immediately. So for this pullback, I might not buy it exactly a VWAP, but I might try to get in afterwards, after a little confirmation of a reversal to the upside again. NQ is pushing up, guys. Just so to me, this is looking like a good pullback at this point. I'm just gonna wait for a confirmation because most likely soon, if we can get a little bit of a reversal right here to this, I'll probably get a signal on the algo and I'll probably get in from there. But it's just a matter of being patient, right? NQ is flirting right there. It's trying to get to the top, so that might be a nice reversal area, but ES is slowly following it. See, normally I would have gotten in right there for a quick 5 points, which we would have gotten right now, but again, we're gonna follow our rules, let it be. We're not gonna trade NQ in the first 15 minutes. The way it's looking, it could easily just push up. So if I went short right there, if I didn't get out, this could be going against me right now. But ES is still not, because like NQ broke out of its like opening range, right, to the upside. ES was the complete opposite. It broke down. So one of them has to catch up to the other. And we just have to see who's leading today. So I know tech stocks have some good news as well going for them, especially for Microsoft. They're saying they want to buy TikTok. That's a big acquisition because so many people use it, and you can make so much money. Like, it's a good revenue stream for Microsoft as well, just through advertisements, because like TikTok is growing, and their advertisements and their endorsement deals. So that's something you can consider. And as for a long-term play with Microsoft, like, I personally love it just because it's based on subscription business, and then now if they get TikTok, that's an ad business, and everyone knows advertisements, they make so much money. And it's all digital, so they don't have manual costs like they used to in the past. Okay, we're finally starting to sync up with the NQ, making a nice push to the upside. Again, volume is piling up around this area between 3283 to 3278. So we might see some bouncing back and forth around this area, so we have to be careful. So for the algo, it looks at multiple things. It's not just like specific to the breakout, but it depends on like the market conditions. So it's like if there's been a nice trend, it'll look for the pullback essentially, and then afterwards it's like I don't calculate too much mean revision on the trades, but then it'll look at the range as well. And then the breakouts, I just noticed the breakouts myself. It's not like the algo's like looking for the breakouts, but what happens is the breakouts and the algo happen to just sync up anyway. So it's kind of interesting because like, it wasn't programmed to get the breakouts, but it tends to go most times like sync up with the breakouts as well. For the morning range at least, like for the first 5 minutes, like most times it will go for like the breakout, it'll sync up, but then the afternoon, like after like 10 o'clock or something, it won't be focusing on the breakout. So it's not really a breakout one. It'll look for it's after the pullbacks, and then it's after the confirmations as well. Now we're making that big push, so that's good. We just have to see if we can hold it or not. But I think for the future, I might be looking to add the mean revision into it, but that's going to be a long process as well, so we'll see how that works out. But for right now, I'm just going to keep it as is, but on the side, I'll try to make revisions, and then I'll have to backtest everything again, and then see how it works. We could get a nice big push here. That'd be something interesting to get into. Because I would consider this area to be a pullback. Because like, if you look at it, like the way it's forming, pulls back from about 85 to around 76, about 9 points. So that's definitely that can be considered as a pullback. It's just a matter of how do we hold and how can we continue and get confirmation on the trend reversal. As of right now, the buyers are kind of struggling, so we'll just have to wait and see, but or we might just end up being range bound between these areas right here, because that's normally what happens after a big move, right? It'll make a monster move and then it'll just sit there, right? And I think that's exactly what happened in the past couple, like the other day too, right? We can see big move and then just bounce back. This became range bound, just up and down, right between the same areas. And now we broke through that, and then we might end up doing the same, but I'm hoping not, but we'll just have to wait and see. Or we can get a nice little push to the downside right now. Now we're getting some selling pressure. Looking at some previous pivot highs and lows, I'm thinking 32.67.50, right around here. We could potentially drop down to that price today and then make a nice bounce back. And right now we just sit and wait, right? It's probably the worst part about trading, but it's just something we have to do. Like I said before, like the most volume was traded around this area, so that's where we're gonna see the most consolidation kind of happen, where buyers and sellers are just fighting back, and like price action just looks funky, and it's just a matter of waiting for a clear sign. Yeah, 6750 is it's a nice area for bounce. But right now I'm just waiting to see what happens. Because it's also where the 200 EMA is also lined up as well. So, like, again, confluence, right? The pivot highs and pivot lows are lining up there. Then you have the 200 EMA right around that area. Then you have the previous day high right around that area. So it's like, when things start piling up, that's when you know it's like, hey, that's a good area for a bounce, or that's a good support or resistance area as well. Yes, the way I'm looking at it right now, it's like we're just gonna have to wait a little bit, just because the big move happened in the overnight session, and when that happens, we're kind of like stuck waiting around. So that's exactly what we're gonna be doing. Am I trading the 150k top step account? No, I thought that was just too much. I thought I didn't need that much, so I just went for the 50k account, got funded through that one, and just been trading that one. And then I've been doing for a while now, to be honest, like probably since like last September. Yeah, I think that's when I first started with Top Step. Last September was Top Step, yeah. So I started out with a 50k account, just been growing that account. Because especially if you're trying to be a scalper, I felt like the 50k account gave you the best room for scalping purposes, especially because like your daily loss limit makes you follow good rules. It gives you a little bit of buffer room to mess around with, and then their profit target to get funded wasn't too high, right? It was only like 3,000 per. You had to make them 6,000 total, right? For the 150k account, I think it was like 10,000 or 15,000. I forgot how much it was, but for each step, I was like, that's gonna take a little bit of time, because like, especially if you're scalping, sometimes if you're swinging, yeah, sure, you'll get those big plays. And if you're doing NQ, yeah, you can definitely do that. But like, I was focusing on the ES. I was just testing Top Step out at that point. Got funded from them, and then I was like, you know what, I have this account, I don't want to restart everything and redo it. So I just kept going along with that account, just been growing that account now. And right now ES is pushing up. So I'm just gonna wait for this candle to close, so the next 5 minutes, and then after that I might look for a nice entry, because it did break through previous highs, which is good. Made a 9-point move, which is great. Okay, this might honestly just be overextended. He's like, the way NQ is moving, right? Whenever it breaks through the three lines, that means it should be pulling back down, right? If it goes past the red line, it should be coming back down like it did right here. Goes to the blue line, it should be coming right back up. And looking at the ES making that big of a move, I don't know. Dollar's definitely gonna start pulling back right after this. I'm not getting in on this. If it was a smaller move, I would have definitely done it, but yeah, next pullback could be around the 82, 84. The previous one was hard to catch. I think if we were on the 1 minutes, we would have caught it, but I like trading the 5-minute charts. That's where I get the most success from. So this one just rallied up completely. It happens, but you just gotta wait for your next turn, right? And like we said, went all the way up, it's gonna start coming back down. So that was the noise for the alert for the ES, but again, looking at the way the move happened, I'm not gonna get in on it because with the algo for the ES at least, right? When I'm scalping, I don't like to go for the alerts that are on the big moves because yeah, sure, it'll probably end up working out sometimes, but you also require a really big drawdown, and so you're risking a lot more. So I might not get into it, so we'll see. If it pulls back down again and it makes a slower move, then definitely I'll get in, but that's just my trading style. But again, I'll show you guys the algo alert right now that we got. It's so essentially, if you were getting in on this, you would buy it at the break. At the break of 32.92, so 32.92.25. That's where you'd put your entry, and it could potentially go all the way up to 33.27, or bare minimum it'd be 33.03, right? But at the same point, we have to understand, like, how much do we want to risk for a trade like that, right? If we're just focusing on just generating income from the futures and just not risking too much and just going for the good plays. So essentially for this, you'd be having a 16.5 point stop, or you could leave it around 13 points, but 13 points is still a big stop, right? So these are moves that I personally just don't enter because I want my risk to reward to be good. Like, even though like the risk to reward ratio is 0.88 even for the first profit level, it's not going to make that move immediately. It's not going to make that move quickly. So it's like it's one of those trades. It's like, even if it works out, it's not a trade that I would personally go for. and especially since like it just pumped up like that, and if I didn't catch it, then I didn't catch it and I let it go. But I look for nice little momentum plays. I like for nice movements. I like to be in before those pushes happen, not after. NQ is starting to fall. ES is finally sort of in sync with it. A nice little 10 o'clock reversal would be nice. Let's see some news right now, if there's anything going on. I think Apple and Microsoft were the big pushers for the NASDAQ today. Yeah, Apple's just been it's been crushing it. It went from like what, 383 like last week to 443 this week. It's ridiculous. So with my algo trades, so my stop loss depends on, like, I make sure my stop loss is exactly where my algo tells it, and then I'll adjust it according to market conditions. But if I know it's gonna be like a swing play, then I leave it there and then slowly move it up, and I'll let it be because like I trust my system. But on like scalp plays, I'll let it be for a couple minutes because most of the times my trades are only in it for like a minute or two or less actually. So it's like it doesn't really bother me then. But if the trades are taking a longer time, then I might be saying, hey, maybe I should get out of this position, maybe look for another opportunity and just be safe about it. Or it depends, like if the market's like actually slowly moving, I'll keep the stop loss there because like the risk reward ratio is there perfectly because most of my times like my risk reward is like either 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, right? So for every dollar I risk, I'm making sure I'm getting like $2. So based on that, like overall in the long run, it works out because my profits are always bigger than my losses. But most of the times though, I don't really worry about the stop losses being that big just because I give it that room just because I know the stock, like the ES, needs some room to breathe. But most of the times when I'm in there, it just pumps up right afterwards, after my alert, and I'm like done with the trade in like the next 5 minutes or less. So it's like it doesn't bother me that I have to put a stop loss like that. especially when the risk to reward is there. But if you're just not gonna follow like the algo system and just be like you're scalping, then my stop losses would be different, right? It's like if I'm only going for 2 points, I'm not gonna risk 10 points because that just makes no sense. Like the risk to reward ratio there is like completely gone. But if you're going for 2 points and you're risking 4 points, that's okay depending on how many times you win. So most of the times if I'm going for like 2 points only, I'll win like a 90% win rate or so. So that 50%, like having that 4-point loss on those occasional times, at 10%, it doesn't matter because if you're winning 90% of the time, you're still profitable. If you're only losing 4 points and getting 2 points every single time. So that's when like your risk reward management comes in. When you have to calculate how much is your win-loss percentage, and like when you backtested it, how was it working, and then when you were actually doing it, how well was it working. And based on that, that's how you have to make sure you're placing your stops properly. And a lot of times the mistake people make, right, is they think, oh, I can only do like 3-point stop loss or 4-point stop loss. You have to like look at the market conditions, like how is the market moving? Because if the market's really volatile, that 2 or 3 points is gonna be taken away immediately. So you can never have a set stop loss amount. You have to adapt to the market. Because if you're not adapting to the market, then the market will take you out and then you'll have your losses immediately. Because in a day where the ES is jumping up and down like 10 points in every 4 minutes or so, it's like your 3-point stop will get hit regardless. So it's like if you're trying to get those big moves on a volatile day, then you have to adjust it. So you have to give it that room. You have to like make your stop loss bigger, but make sure your analysis is on point with knowing that, hey, this entry can get me this much potential profit right there, and that's what I'm gonna go for. But I have to risk this much. And if you're risking if you're risking like 10 points to make 2, that's a trade that you don't want to get into. Because like if it goes against you, you're pretty much just blowing up your account for no reason. So that's why like risk management's like such a big thing with trading. Like, 'cause I think a lot of people skip over it when they start off, and it's something that they need to have heavy focus on. Because with that proper risk management, like it doesn't matter what you're doing. At that point, you're just gambling. Because you're just saying, oh, let me just throw this in, right? Like, let me take that bet. Let me just say, oh yeah, like play roulette. Oh, I'll put all your money on black. Like, there's no point then. It's like you have to have measured calculations on where you're gonna put your stop, where you're taking your profits. Because it's not a guessing game with the market. It's an analysis. Like, it's your technical analysis saying, hey, price is coming here. I'm gonna let it come back and then go right back up to a certain point, and that's where you're gonna take your profit. They're all measured moves. Yeah, Harry, I'm glad that you like that. And like, I think that's like one of the biggest things, right? A lot of people, like, the more you trade, you realize like, hey, because like in the beginning when I first started playing around with ES, right, I used to have like a 2-point stop. I was like, I'm not gonna risk more than 2 points. Like, it's only like I was trading one contract back then, and it was like, it's like 2 points. Oh, it's $100. Okay, I'm only getting like $50 in return or whatever for 1 point. And I'm like, this system wouldn't work, because I was like, over time, it's like if you have a couple losses, you're not even gonna break even. You're gonna be negative. So that's when I was like, I really put a focus on risk management and finding the trades out. It's like, and building this algo out, which tells me my profit targets as well as my stop loss, because then everything's in a measured move. It provides the risk management for me, essentially. Like, what am I looking for and what am I going for? And that's why I like to follow it. But for scalping, obviously, like I prefer 4 points, because depending on the volatility, right, I'll look into the volatility and be like, hey, like if the wicks is like really high and everything, it's like I want to make sure I'm not getting into crazy plays. I'm just getting in for quick moves. So it's like I make sure I get hit in like the next like 20-30 seconds and my trade's done. Because like with ES, that happens a lot of time. If I'm just going for 2 points, the trade's gonna have to be like less than like 3 3 minutes. Like, it has to be quick. Like, even today, right? We saw, I just got like a quick 1 point play. It's like 2 minutes, 29 seconds. That's okay, because I can still control everything at that point. I know the market direction that's happening in that moment. So I'm just riding that trend and getting my profits there. But with quick scalps, you have to make sure you're managing your stop loss. It can't just be 2 points or 3 points or 4 points. Like, you have to see how much move did it happen, and like, is it jumping back and forth too much? Like, that means you shouldn't be getting in. If you're making a nice trend, then you should have no problem putting like a 4 point, 5 point stop loss, because you're about to go for another 5 points right there. And again, like we said, like, the algo alert came on this candle, so if anyone wanted to go in, it'd be at the break. So whenever I say break, it's like a tick higher, so at least like the 25 cents higher, and you can get in. But it could be a big move, but I don't know. I don't normally trade those type of candles when it's like a 10-point move or 12-point move, but it is starting to hold steadily to the upside, so we'll have to see, unless it's just going to be a little fake out where we get to the top, because this would be the daily high, right, and the overnight session high, and we haven't been to this level in a while. Like, even on the 23rd, we only made it up to 32.84.25, and now we crossed that till about 32.91. So that's definitely something to consider. We are making new highs at this point. Not all-time highs, but still new highs. And I think one of the biggest reasons I don't force trades on the ES is because I don't just trade the ES, right? I'll be swing trading stocks, and I'll be looking at options on the side as well. But like, ES is probably my favorite to trade, and that's why I don't like to force any trades. Because like, I make sure like I'm disciplined with it. I make sure I only try to get in when I feel like everything's perfect, everything checks off on my list, and I'll go in. So it's like, because when you force a trade, you know it's like it's not gonna work again. It's not gonna work in your favor. And I noticed that a couple of you guys are watching. You guys can hop on the chat with us. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. Or if you guys have suggestions, like, let me hear it. I would love to hear that. But if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please leave that like button. It helps me out. I'm trying to grow this channel, trying to get to a lot of people, give them some good service, and just build a nice community of traders, man. Like, it's nice to have other people like Harry right now. Like, he's like talking and saying his projections, and it's nice to like get other people's opinions to understand, like, are we on the same page, or is there something I'm missing, and can we help each other out, essentially. And if there's any beginners watching out there, like, down below you should have the link for the free course. I just made it for you guys just so that you guys don't have to spend money and get your time wasted by people just trying to BS you with basic stuff. So I just made it. It's like 5 hours long. Check it out if you want. A lot of people told me that they found it very useful when they were beginners. Talks about all the subjects, especially like the important ones. Like one, there's the strategies are explained, how you can trade them, as well as trading psychology, as well as risk management and what you need to do, and how to build a trading plan. There's a template, everything. So it goes pretty in depth. So if you're new, check it out. If you just want to learn, or if you want a refresher, check it out. There's no cost to it. I literally just made it just because I had time during COVID and just wanted to give back. So put all my knowledge into a nice little video course. Okay, so ES is pulling back down to 3284. So that's good. That's a good sign. Like we were saying, like Harry said, 82 to 84 potential area for a pullback. And like we were saying, talking about the algo before, right? It will give us nice alerts like this one. But one of the biggest rules I follow with the algo, right, is the price has to cross the algo price, like the breakout price of like 32.92.25, in the next two candles to confirm that the trend is there, the momentum is there. If it doesn't cross that price in the next two candles, next two 5-minute candles, I'd just cancel everything. I'm not gonna bother with it because I know at that point that means it was just a fake push and it just faked it out. But that's how you trade the algo. It's very simple. Just wait for the breakout of the signal, right? It tells you buy, just wait for that breakout and then you get in, and then that's when you catch these big moves like this one. But when this happens, it tends to trigger stuff and you don't get it. You don't want to get into these situations and be like, oh, I saw the buy alert, let me just get in, and then it ends up reversing, right? You don't want that. That's why you always enter at the break of like the high of the signal candle. Oh, let's take this back. So for me, potentially, I want it to come down to like 32.80 and then try to pull back to the upside. I think that would be a nice move then. So we just have to wait. So yeah, right at this point, we're just waiting for it, and yeah. But I think by next week, or possibly by the end of next week, right, I'll have the algo like set up and everything so that it can be shared to you guys, so that you guys can use it on your own charts as well, and you guys can check it out and try it out. you guys can like have access to it for a couple weeks just to test it out. But that has to go through a little bit quick process of like, you know, protecting our code, protecting our proprietary system, and that's just gonna take like another week and a half to set up. So this week I'll be working on that, and then potentially I'm hoping by the end of next week it will be available and I can give it out to you guys, and so that you guys can test it out. I'm glad you guys are excited. Like, it's good to know that people are excited and people are interested in just checking it out and testing it out for themselves. So, thank you. Right now, I'm just looking at the ES, man. I'm trying to see if we can potentially get a nice move, because right now it's starting to move back up again. I'm just trying to wait and see. Because at this point, I feel like it's just stuck inside of this candle, right? From that 3282 to 3291, and we are just becoming like range bound right inside there. Or we might just make like a little triangle, right? Triangle formation right there. You can see that clearly. Honestly, from here, 3280, 75, we could probably just go right back up to 3291. It's like NQ is bouncing right there too. Let's check out some volume issues. Don't worry about that noise. That just happens with TradingView whenever you have multiple web pages up. Because like, anytime you switch the tabs, the alert noise will come on each window, which I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. And there's no way to like stop that for some reason. You would think like one time would be good enough, but every time you switch tabs, like it gives you that noise. Okay, so the volume's starting to die off. Like, comparatively at least. it's just stuck inside this candle. That big push that we had, that quick move, we're just still stuck inside of it. Yeah, the previous impulse move didn't have too much, but I think the main reason is it kind of essentially went from node to node, right? The volume node's right here. You can see it just jumped through all the low volume areas. But if we could just get the volume, regular volume based. Is there no regular volume button? Or is it in here? Nope. That is so weird. Oh, right there. No, the previous impulse move did have a good amount of volume right there. Around 40,000. So compared to like the overnight session and everyone, like it's high volume comparatively, right? When I say comparatively, I just mean like based on the previous session or previous day, like that way. I don't mean like overall high volume, because like obviously over here we had like 122,000 volume. That's really high volume, but normally we stick around that 28 to 45, 50 range. But I don't want to see the volume here. Again, we're still just, it's like we're in that little box, right? We're just like stuck in that little range, just going up and down, up and down, up and down. But then once we break out of it, that's when we'll see the big moves happening. Yeah, while it's just buffering, I'm just gonna go check out some news or anything to see what's happening in the world. I mean, looking at the overnight, we could see a trend reversal to the downside. That is very possible. You're like Harry, I do agree with you on that side, essentially, because whenever we make a giant move like back like again and again, right? We have to pull back. We have to make a nice move downwards before we can keep continuing the uptrend. But like I don't see it like dropping down to like 32.20 or anything, but I see it like dropping down around like the 32.50s, 32.60s. That would be an area where I would see making a nice move, because that's still another like what 30 points right now. And a 30-point drop is still a good move downwards to, well, potentially profit on, as well as to keep market conditions continuing. Yeah, sometimes the moves for us just happen in the pre-market, like happened today around like 5:20, 5:25. So it's like those days I kind of just hate it, because I was like, obviously I wasn't awake for it to catch it, but it just means our session's kind of just dull. NQ is finally starting to push down a little bit. Let's see if it can break through that area. ES is following. Still didn't break out of that range. Again, if it's not gonna break out of that big move, that big candle, I feel like once it breaks through that, it could easily just flush down in the VWAP real quick. Touched it, no? Yep, just touched it right there. Again, these aren't trades that I normally get into, but I'm just saying these are just my analysis on seeing what's happening. That way, you know, you always have to keep adapting, right? And like I said before, if it broke through 32.8250, we could see a nice flush down to the VWAP right there. So that's like a 6-point move. And I might go for a bounce play right over here with the NQ at 980, and then for ES, a bounce play around the 3276. And I'm looking at the higher time frames right now as well, and it's looking like the ES definitely needs another pullback before it can continue to the upside. We made some pretty big moves. We just need that ordinary pullback every time, and then we can keep going from there. But for now, we're just gonna be waiting. So that downtrend might be happening pretty soon, today or tonight, like in the overnight session or tomorrow morning. But the VWAP right there looks like a nice area to go long just for a quick scalp right there. Quick 2 points. NQ, again, scalp to buy right there at 979. I mean, we still have some time to see if the buyers can step in or not. I'm not going to place my order yet. I'll probably wait for it to break through VWAP first, and then I'll try to get it on the way back up. Because sometimes if you're just looking at the bid and ask, like, it can play with you because the buyers could step in at any point, right? They can all just do market orders immediately, and you never see those. So, and that's why I like to focus more on just seeing how the charts are doing rather than the bid asks. Like, you can see the bid right here, the ask right here. Okay, you can tell, like, oh, sellers are in control, but guess what? The price is still going up. How? Right? Like, when there's a completely biased way, say like over here, right down here where my mouse is, if the sellers are like at like 3,000 and then the buyers are only at like 500, then I'd be like, okay, like the sellers are definitely in control and they are trying to kill this thing today. But right now it's still around even for me, because like even if it's like 100 or 200, 300 off, it's like I feel like buyers step in at any point, sellers step in at any point. That's why I just look for the way the candles are performing and where the momentum is and the actual movement. So let's see if the sellers can take over or not. We do have the previous pivot low to get through, which is right around VWAP as well. So we'll see if that acts as a resistance points or not. Right now I'm just gonna show you guys my screen for like a couple stocks and ETFs for a little quick second. Again, this was just following the algo system, right? And essentially what we had was we got signals back here, but price never crossed in the next two candles, so we never got in. Same thing here, price never crossed in the next two candles, so we don't get in. But this one, we would have got in because the price crossed it right after the signal came. Perfect. And then this is TQQQ, essentially the NASDAQ and the QQQ, but TQQQ essentially is 3x shares. And if you bought it on July 30th and just made a quick swing trade, right? July 30th was when? On Thursday. Thursday at like 11:30 till this morning, you would have made a nice 9.26% return. And I personally got into this trade, which was worked out well. And it tells you exactly where to take your profits, and you guys can see how like it hit it and it started struggling a little bit now. It came back down. So it's like that's why I always try to secure my profits. And now just looking at the ES again, just waiting to see if it can come back down, and then maybe we can get like a quick pull up again. Here, I'll pull over here. So the original stop was on TQQQ was at 3.4% or so 109.49, but then after it hit the first target, I moved it to the second stop, so my risk to reward gets better. So every dollar I'm risking, I'm making 4, and then once it hit the second take profit level, I moved it to break even, and then I just ride it out to hit the take profit level 3. But yeah, overall, so since the beginning of the trade, what you would see is initially you would have a risk to reward ratio of 2.82, right? So for every dollar you're risking, you're getting $2.82 in return. I personally love TQQQ because it has nice momentum, and QQQ always moves in nice waves. If you ever notice, like even if you look at the 5 minutes or 15 minutes, like it's always on a nice wave pattern, and it's pretty easy to understand and read. And playing TQQQ, which is the 3x shares, it works out perfectly because like for every 1% that QQQ moves, TQQQ moves 3 times as much. So if say the normal QQQ ETF moves 2%, this one, the TQQQ, will move 6%. Not like just a little bit, but not really. Like here, let me pull it back here and I'll show you. Right, we can see that we got hit right there. Let me just take this out, that way it's much easier to read and see. So we got filled right here around 1344, 113.44, and then from there what we did, we were negative just for a little bit, pull it down again a little bit, and then I think in the third hour that's when we were break even / profit, and then from there the next day it pumped up completely, That's when we moved our stop loss up to here. And then it pulled back down a little bit to break even, but then bounced right back up. So we were still in the trade and we caught the whole move. And that's just something, these little pullbacks happen from time to time. It's not always just going to be a nice flush move. Like, that's not the way the market works, right? So we have to be prepared for that. That's why I move my stop loss up and up and up as long as they're continuing to go up. But patience pays. And the TQQQ, like whenever doing with stocks, right, I'm always swing trading them. So it's like, I'm okay if the stock's like negative for a couple hours because I know it's like, I have to trust the system and just follow it through, because sometimes the pullbacks happen and you don't want to get scared just because, oh, it pulled back a little bit and then just you start worrying about that. Like, it's not worth it. But when you're swing trading, you have to be okay with, hey, like, I honestly just set it and forget it. I come back the next day after I'm in the trade and then I check up on it just to move my stop losses. But other than that, like, it's complete swing trades. I don't look at them. I wait for my alerts to come from the algo, and then I place my trades, have my take profit and my stop loss. And I'm just like simply every night I'll come in, I'll move them up or something. But most of the times, like, those moves tend to happen in like the next couple hours. Sometimes it takes a couple days, but no longer than that. So that's why I give it that time that it needs. And ES right now is pumping, so potentially on this at the end of this candle, I might get in because it still has some room to go to the top again. So all the daily high. Because considering that this would be another pivot low, right? This pivot low was higher than this pivot low, so that's always a good sign, meaning the uptrend is still existent. But my only concern is, do I want to play at the top? It could be a quick move, which would be nice, so we'll see. I just don't want to get trapped in consolidation, because whenever these big moves happen, the consolidation comes in, and I hate getting stuck in that. Right now, if we look at our trading view chart for the ES, we are getting the signal. It's like it's forming at this point. It's not confirmed yet until candle close. But again, I don't like being trapped. Like like before, right? Right here. Yeah, I don't know how promising this sounds, but might get into this. Just have to see. The sellers are kind of strong right there. So I might let it break out in the 86. As we can see right here, 615, 398. They're piling up. We got the alert, but alerts are no good in consolidation. Might get in. Let's see. I'll wait for it to break, come back down, and then I'll try to get into it. If not, then I don't get into it. It's okay. But buyers aren't looking too strong, so that's concerning to me. Let me just move it up here that way. I know. Broke through. Perfect. Let me see. Cancel. I'll try to get in right here. 86, right? Can we get filled? One second, guys. I'm just getting a quick call. Let's see if we can get filled. Yeah, it looks like it's not trying to fill me. It's kind of upsetting right there. at the price, but just not filling. I just need to come down. That way I can get filled, but no. Come on. I'm glad you like my information, man. Like, it makes me feel good. I don't know how to say your username, but yeah. Yeah, I understand the audio has a constant humming noise. That's because my neighbor has a very loud AC, and my desk is right by the window. But I think this weekend, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my desk position up. That way, that noise goes away. But whenever his AC's off, like, you guys don't hear anything. There's no humming noise, no nothing. Or honestly, I might just move my desk to my basement, and we'll see if I can just. That will obviously eliminate all the noise. So I know I've noticed that. My friends have been telling me that as well. They notice the humming noise and it's kind of annoying. So I'll definitely move my setup around, move my desk to a different room possibly, or to my basement. That way there's no noise. So potentially by like the end of this week or this weekend, I'll have everything moved, and then you won't ever hear that humming noise again. Yeah, Bruno, I know the humming noise. It's honestly, man, it's just that AC, man. I don't know why he has such a loud AC and does not just get it fixed. And like my window just comes right through. It's like the fact that my window's closed and you can hear that, that tells you like, one, this is a good mic, but two, that AC is really loud. But yeah, by this week I'll end up changing my desk setup. That way I can. You guys can have a clear audio, no more extra noise, no background noise or anything. But yeah, I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with that humming noise for now, but I'll definitely get it fixed. But right now I'm kind of just a little bit annoyed that the ES I didn't get filled at 3286 because the price was there, but I didn't get filled, and now it's just going. But so I see this move going straight to 3289.75 at least, but we didn't get filled, so hopefully someone else did. If not, it is what it is. I'm canceling my order at this point. It's just taking too long for it to come back down. I guess we'll just have to take that 100 for today and just walk away, because I do have to step out for a little bit. But let's see. But overall, I'll just show you guys the algo before I head out. Essentially, since the signal came, it hit it. Our first target would be 32.89 and our second target would be 32.93. So right now it has good potential to go. The only thing is volume is becoming weaker, and I always pay attention to that. So whenever volume is becoming weaker, that's like, hey, the trend might be reversing, but we can try to wait it out, or you can just go for the quick 2-point scalp of from the 3286 to 3288. So we'll see what happens. But that's my measured move for today, and I have to step out, but it was great being with you guys today. I'll be back tomorrow morning and the rest of the week as well. You sold at 3287. Congrats, man. I'm happy for you. You got your 2 points. You're set. You're good. So have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.